Welcome to Nightlight. Step away from the mainstream and gather around as we enlighten the world and our realities and travel this cosmic journey we call life. Join us as we share with you and provide that beacon that can guide us all to a better way. Explore with us as we examine a metaphysical montage of spiritual insights, covering everything from the mundane to the magical, UFOs to unicorns, and everything in between. This is a time of awakening, of sharing and evolving, of spreading our wings and soaring on the cosmic breath of creation. Come and join with other light-minded spirits as we weave our lights together to seek understanding, enlightenment, and, with a little luck, some wisdom. This is Nightlight, a reminder that you are never alone.
It's our kickoff to Halloween. I have a special treat for October 25th, but we have an even more special guest this evening. Max Hawthorne is a fantastic horror and sci-fi author. That's about his third or fourth appearance with us, discussing his Kronos Rising series and Monsters and Marine Mysteries. And Max has a new publication out, and that is called Purgatory, and another one that will be released on Halloween. We'll get to that in a few minutes. Max is one of the top guests on all the podcasts, and if you can't get enough of him when he's on Coast to Coast, you can visit his website, kronosrising.com. Hi, Max. How you doing?
I am awesome. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, gosh. So, okay. So, we'll be spending some time talking about your novella Purgatory this evening, and you have, what's the book coming out on Halloween?
It is called The Sleigh. Sleigh as in riding a sleigh, one horse open sleigh, that kind of thing. Not S-L-A-Y, although that might as well be a pun on words, kind of thing as well.
Okay. Well, okay. We'll be talking about other aspects of the sleigh as the evening goes on. But we should probably start off by saying happy birthday to Olaf. I don't know if he is able to give us his version of thank you, but
the big man is actually asleep on the couch next to my daughter outside of my office there, okay. Which is how we want him, because more Olaf than Mace has interrupted many interviews, some live video ones, stuff, and there's nothing more embarrassing than a door to your office bursting open and a 20-pound cat jumping up on the desk. And one time his enormous poofy tail just kind of, as I was talking to somebody, went past in front of my face. He breezes by, and the host, she was like, "Wait, is that one of the cats?" And I'm like, "Yes." She's like, "Oh, we've got to meet him." So then I had to hoist this beast up and hold him up for the camera and all that stuff. Yeah, but he's adorable. But for the readers who don't know who Olaf is, my daughter has two ginormous Siberian forest cats. They are what's called a what's the scientific term for it? A land scale species. It's like a wild species that exists in the wild in Russia and Siberia, but is also domesticated. And these are big, gorgeous, puffy cats, very fluffy. They get sizable. Obviously, 20-pound cat is big. An average house cat is like 9 pounds. But and they're great. They're as smart as the smartest dog. They have great personalities, very playful. I mean, we call Olaf the village idiot as one of his nicknames because he's always stirring up trouble and stuff. But I think it's more a matter of being bored than him, like trying to do stupid things or anything like that. My daughter also calls him Chunky Cheese because he's a little hefty, let's say, and stuff. But he's great. I mean, like we have outside of my office, there's like a 4-foot-tall scratching post, which shows you how big these cats are because Olaf is the larger too. He can reach all the way to the top when he's scratching his claws. 4 feet is a large cat for reach. Right. Okay, but so a lot of times as I'm approaching my office there, he wants attention. He'll run around the couch that's right before there and jump across my path and make this leap and then grab onto the scratching post and stuff. And then he starts like showing off. He's like tearing at it, standing there. And he does this to impress me with how big he is, how tall he is and stuff. So I will automatically go into my, oh my God, look at you. You're so big. Why are you so big? How'd you get so big? You're such a big boy. And then he'll go, ee! Like this high-pitched screech, and then he'll run off, and I'm supposed to chase him through the living room, and we do this thing. It's part of our spiel, I guess you'd say, and stuff. So it's good stuff,
So how old is Olaf?
Olaf just turned 3 2 days ago, and Mace is 4.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So for being such cats, they're actually really good in a family setting.
Oh, they're fantastic. I mean, except for when Olaf misbehaves, honestly. But most of the time, like when I'm writing, they'll sleep on my desk or under my desk, something like that, depending on how much crap is on my desk. But, the rest of the time, if you're watching TV, they curl up. Like one might be in your lap, one might be by your feet. Sometimes they like to, it's what I call holding your hand. The cat will lie beside your foot and put his paw on top of your slipper or your foot. And it's his way of holding hands with you. They don't have thumbs while he's there. It's like, I'm here, we're together, this type of stuff. They're very sweet and incredibly smart. It blows your mind. I mean, not to ramble, but I mean, there's been times where, like, for example, we had a power outage briefly, and their water fountain is electric in the kitchen wasn't functioning, and they didn't have any water. Mace came over to me meowing and basically pushed me and shoved me into the kitchen and indicated the water fountain, so that I realized what was going on. And they do stuff like this all the time. And worse, opening drawers, opening refrigerators. Earlier, I caught him pulling open the trash can drawer and looking inside. It's like they're very curious animals and very agile, and they're great. I have no complaints.
Okay, cool. So, when you've been on, the Beard Show, and so, some of the other live stream video shows, you could see their tail just walking under your camera, and then they come back a few seconds later. So it looks like something like a dorsal fin,
exactly.
going from right to left and then left to right, going back to get Chrissy on the buoy at the start of Jaws, but
sometimes Mason particularly, he likes to sit there and watch my monitor, and he'll put his rump on my keyboard, which is very annoying. Sometimes, I'm worried I'm going to have like a manuscript get out there, and it'll be like accustomed to their prey being petrified with blah, 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 blah. Like, and the others will be like, what the hell is that? Is this some sort of creature speaking? Sorry about that, damn cat, whatever. But he sits there, he watches the cursor. He wants to attack it sometimes, which is very scary. I'm afraid he's going to knock over my all-in-one monitor / computer and stuff. But, most of the time they're not troublemakers. you know. But hey, you remember that one time on the Three Beards where I was wearing that fake beard?
Yeah, it kind of sounds like remember that time at band camp? But yeah,
I had on this wig and beard that looked like I was like Hagrid from
I remember.
It was so hot and uncomfortable and stuff. And I was like, I was dying of that thing, man. And I bought it just for the show, and then never wore it again. Obviously, whatever. I was telling people it's my new look. I've become a hermit. I'm living in a cave out there, getting in touch with the inner writer. You know, I got this going on. Eat squirrels raw. Yeah.
Okay, so
sorry, I didn't take my meds today, so I'm a little off. You know, you never know what might come out of my mouth.
No, you actually sound pretty normal. So, but
I hope that was in quotes.
You also had a adventure over the summer with an alligator. What was the story behind that?
It wasn't one alligator. It was two alligators.
Oh, okay. Even more interesting.
Yes. We have one of our favorite rental properties down in Florida in the Orlando area. It's a nice development, kind of like closed gate community type thing. And they have a pretty sizable lake behind, the houses, or they surround it, I guess, or something like that. And in Florida, there's always the risk of alligators. Wherever there's a body of water, you need to be careful. Seriously, especially if you have pets, if you have children, etc., this type of thing. I mean, gators are opportunistic. Humans aren't normally on the menu, but, obviously there's been attacks and things happen.
Right.
So the last time we were there, I saw the sign. I didn't see any alligators or anything like that. This time they were everywhere. I mean, it was like the first day we got there, we saw those people at the development next door all out there looking, and there's a 9-footer just kind of cruising around like a shark. Big gray gator just, sauntering around there around the lake and stuff like that. I'm like, that's nice. So the next day I go out and I'm trying to fish. And I figured I had seen gar there the last time at the crack of dawn, so I figured I'd go out early and bring some crankbaits. It's like a type of fishing lure, work them around and see if I could get a strike. So the gator must have heard the splash and, got and the sound of a crankbait looks like a fish struggling, so that to them signifies a potential meal. So I just a half dozen casts, and all of a sudden I see some dark shape in the distance coming towards me, and I'm like, what the heck? And then it accelerated, and I was like, that's a gator. And then when he was about, I'm going to say 200 feet out, he submerged completely. Now, that's the danger time.
Yeah, that sounds scary.
Because what they do is they go underwater, and they're already gauging distance and stuff, and they try and pop up right where you are and then grab. That's how Nile crocs function, most crocodilians, etc. So my mama did not raise a fool, well, except for my brother. But anyway, so I backed up like 10, 15 feet from the edge, the water's edge, and sure enough, like 10, 15 seconds later, boop, pops up right, near the water's edge. This wasn't the same gator. This was a subadult male, about 8 feet long. You could see he still had the pattern of like stripes and stuff, the white on the sides, his flanks and stuff like that, But he was like looking at me, and then I was like, and I was like, all right, what are we doing here? And then he started creeping closer and closer. And this was reminiscent of the time this gator tried to grab my dad years and years ago.
I remember you telling us that story.
Yeah, I had to fight the gator with a fishing net. I didn't have a fishing net. All I had was a fishing rod, and I had no desire to grapple with a couple 100 pounds of alligator with my bare hands or a fishing rod. So I was like, oh, no. So I backed up the hill, and then he just kind of sat there. We watched each other, and eventually went on his merry way. So then the next day I come out there, and I'm like, all right, so this time I'm going to be a little more cautious, So there was like a drain, a concrete drain that goes into like the edge of the lake right near there. And it juts out a bit. And I was casting with that in front of me. It stuck out enough that there's nothing would be able to approach me without impacting on the drain first and showing itself. See? But sure enough, another gator shows up, and this one was very interested also. This one was even smaller. It was only about 7 feet long. But that's still big enough to kill you. You know, they get you in the water, they drown you. That's what they do. You know,
and they roll over.
And then they try and tear up a piece. You know, and
death spin.
Yeah, the death roll, and then they'll lodge your body under like a submerged log, so you soften up as you start to putrefy, and then feed on it, whatever. But so that one was a little more interested, but I kept putting the concrete in the way, and eventually it lost interest. The next day, the same one was around, and these neighbors across, I think they were from Australia or something, but they were feeding it hamburgers, which is very stupid to do. You don't feed these animals because that's how people get attacked. The animal comes to associate human beings with food. It's like a trigger. And so what happens then is the animal's there's a human being and there's no food. So it says, oh, this must be the food, the human being. And then it tries and takes its shot. And it's even worse if there's a child around or something like that. They usually go after children, seniors, elderly, that type of stuff. They want smaller targets, by and large, unless they're a huge alligator. My personal theory is that people standing up appear more intimidating because of our height.
You're really sounding like Matt Hooper. But go ahead.
Hooper drives the boat, Chief. But anyway, there have been grown men. I mean, there was an incident a couple of years ago where a guy burglared somebody's house, and I think the police were looking for him, and he went to hide in some pond, and there was a 12-foot gator in there, and he was swimming, and they killed him. So a grown man is, it's easy to be preyed upon. It's just like, I think when you're in the water and you're moving parallel to it, your height, the illusion of size from the height is negated. The animal looks and says, oh, I could take him, and boom, and they can. See? So you have to be on your toes. I mean, they're nowhere as dangerous as crocodiles, honestly, but at the same time, you don't want to take a chance, I mean, since I didn't have to protect my father from getting eaten like that time, I prefer to just back away, not give him the opportunity to try and take a shot.
Okay. So
it is a little disconcerting, though, knowing that, by your feet there's an animal that's big enough to kill you and eat you.
Well, I'm sure it is.
And will, given the chance.
What do you base a lot of your, we'll get into that in a little bit, but do you base some of your Jurassic Park type animals on alligators or alligator type behaviors? Is their the behavior like you were just discussing, where they can take you underwater, then put you under a submerged tree, and come back and eat you when you're more tasty,
more tender.
Yeah.
A little,
is that
it's more succulent?
is that just a continuation of evolutionary behaviors from the Cretaceous period?
I've done a piece on this discussing the impact, let's say, of crocodilians, crocodilomorphs, etc., on theropods, and not just Cretaceous, but Jurassic and even before. I mean, there have been crocodile-like creatures. The phytosaurs, for example, I think was towards sometime in the Triassic, when dinosaurs were first starting to get a foothold. And then they were replaced by crocodilomorphs, traditional crocodiles of different types, all different kinds over the years and so forth. And they ranged in size. Some of them have been giants. Some of the phytosaurs were giants, like 12 meters long. That's an enormous predator. But they all have these same characteristics of lurking in the water and then leaping up to ambush prey. So there have been, a couple years back, they were, these scientists, paleontologists and such, were talking about, with Tyrannosaurus rex, how you'll notice that there are these foramina, these pressure sensors, like pits, in the edges of the jaw, like the upper jaw, the lower jaw, this type of stuff. And what are these pressure sensors there for? And there was a lot in the news, for example, they were saying that the Tyrannosaurus rex had them there because he was a sensitive lover. Like, yeah, baby, hey, yo, what's up, girl? That kind of thing. And so apparently they were envisioning like tyrannosaurs like nuzzling and, caressing each other's faces, rubbing their lips together and all this other stuff. Okay. Whether that's true or not, who's to say? I would imagine their mating would probably be, since their birds are avian dinosaurs, might be similar to how birds mate. Crocodilians tend to be a little more tender, to be honest. I think the male has to because he's twice her size or something. But in this case, I thought that was a little silly. I mean, I was calling them the cads of the Cretaceous, with those, the whole Romeo thing and all that. And I looked and I researched and I realized every theropod has these foramina. So why do they have them? And it turns out that they had appeared at the same time that you had these phytosaurs and stuff way back when, all through the time. Now, why foramina are pressure sensors that are used in the water, underwater, basically. Alligators have them on their heads. Crocodiles have them on their entire body. And my theory on that, by the way, I'm just putting this out there, is that crocodiles, since they function in a more competitive, dangerous environment, much more competition with each other, et cetera, they're more susceptible to attacks, also from hippopotamuses in Africa, et cetera. So they have to have pressure sensors everywhere. But the point is that these sensors allow the crocodilian, even in pitch black darkness, to sense the presence, the location of moving objects around them. They're pressure sensors, like full sonar absorbing thing, you see? So they've tested an alligator in black, no light, and one drop of water, and they turn exactly in that direction. Okay, so that's the purpose. They're for prey. Spinosaurus has them all over its head because it was a fish eater, a piscivore. See, so it would constantly have either its whole body submerged or at least its whole head, and feeling around in maybe even in murky water, and even in the dark or muddy water, it could sense the location of prey, snap, and nail it because it knows exactly where it is. But why does a terrestrial predator, a theropod, an allosaurus, a ceratosaurus, a megalosaurus, a tyrannosaurus, why do they all have these pressure sensors? And it's not that they're sensitive lovers, in my opinion. Okay? Again, this is just my opinion as a pseudo-scientist, as some of the haters like to say. Okay? But the fact is that they all have one thing in common. They all drink water. And what's in that water? Some sort of crocodilomorph, something that wants to eat them. So this way, it's like the whiskers on a lion or a tiger that can sense disturbances in the water, or the vibrissae in walrus, where they can find things under the muck with their whiskers. So when a theropod puts its face, part of its face in the water to drink, and they would drink like birds, where they would take a gulp and then lift their head up. So they would have to wade into the water like mid-thigh, or not mid-thigh, but mid-shin or something like that, okay, in order to drink. So they're vulnerable to attack and off balance. Big croc grabs the theropod by the head, the neck, whatever, can drag him in. Sometimes there's a bunch of them. They'll rip him to pieces. See? So those foramina are not to make you a sensitive lover. They're there to sense approaching danger, something coming towards you that could drag you to your doom. And that's why they're there. See?
That makes sense.
It does make sense, because why else would they have them? All of them, male, female, big, small. Coelophysis, one of the very first theropods, has them. They're not as well developed as later theropods, but they're there. So they all face the same risk. They all have to drink, and every body of water potentially has some sort of croc in it or something. You need to stay alive. You need to propagate. It's not like Triceratops or any of these hadrosaurs where they travel in these huge herds. Wildebeests don't function with those whiskers like big cats do. You ever watch a big cat drink? They're lapping, and lions do it in groups. They all look around. They're all eyeing that water because they know death could be waiting. Tigers are like lone hunters. They have much bigger whiskers, more sensitive. See? So they're all being very cautious. And that's very, very noteworthy when it comes to this type of thing. So for a theropod, it would be the same thing. Herds that travel, like you've seen wildebeest, thousands of them crossing these rivers in Africa. And then crocs, it's a feeding frenzy. They're just grabbing them and ripping them down, etc. And the wildebeest says just keep going because, they got Harry, but he didn't get me. And they just keep moving. They lose 5 or 10 out of 1,000. No big deal. It's the numbers. They don't need to protect themselves. But predators are outnumbered by prey bite, like sometimes 100 to 1. So they have to survive to propagate their species. So they develop these foramina, these water pressure sensors, to use when their faces are in the water and they're drinking to keep from being killed. That's my official Max Hawthorne, copyright whatever year I put that out, explanation. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that your answer is probably accepted at the mainstream universities.
Well, I don't know if it's accepted. They probably be like, oh, that's. But then you never know. You put out theories, and next thing you know, it appears in somebody's scientific paper, and they never give you, and they don't give you credit for it. Whoa, what's up with that?
Oh, you should be credited for your research. You do a very thorough job of. We'll get into it. The work you did with the museum in my favorite English town, Dorking.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love those guys. They were so nice, honestly.
Yeah, there's
salt of the earth.
Yeah, and that the chalk quarry just outside of town. Mm-hmm. Revealed one of the earliest plesiosaur skulls in the 1850s. So, there's, I was one of the early marine dinosaurs. We also know that that part of southern England would have been underwater. Mm-hmm. But you did a lot of research to help them to figure out how the plesiosaur swam. Mm-hmm. So that you are working in academia. I was impressed with the newspaper article about you.
Well, the plesiosaur locomotion thing, I mean, honestly, it's kind of like I don't know if you're familiar with the legend of Archimedes, the
water displacement.
Yes, he was trying to figure out how somebody asked him to determine, I think it was the king, whether the crown that he'd had made, if it was really solid gold, or if the person had, added some alloys to pocket some more money, that type of thing, and he figured out how to do it while he was taking a bath, and he realized the displacement, the volume of a crown made of solid gold would displace a certain amount of water, but the same weight that was something else would displace a different amount. So he was able to figure it out. And he literally jumped off screaming, "Eureka!" and ran dripping naked down the street to get back to his house so he could, start figuring, working out the details. So I had a eureka moment like that. I was sitting in either a hot tub or taking a hot bath where I was trying to figure out, you have these four-limbed animals with these large, generally speaking, equal-sized paddles, okay? And they're all powerful. They're all muscular. They're all designed for thrusting. They're not like sea turtles. They're a front drive engine. They have the big paddles in the front and there's a small one in the back. Those small ones aren't just for excavating nests for the lay eggs for the females. The males have them too, obviously, but they actually use them like rudders. Mm-hmm. And I have video footage of this. See, but their primary locomotion is almost 100% with the big front paddles. So you don't need big rear paddles, for example, to act as a rudder. I mean, if you look at a battleship, the rudders are small compared to the ship. So it didn't make sense. So they all have to be used for locomotion, and the question was how. And while sitting there in the tub, I'm playing around using my hands, moving different ways, this, that, and the trick was you have this what we were calling the principle of flipper redundancy. And I have nephews who were champion scullers, and they would tell you, when it comes to drafting and the principle of diminished returns, that if you have oars moving through the same, once the water starts moving from the first one pushing it, the second one doesn't generate much thrust because it's pushing against water that's already been displaced. See? So you only get maybe a 12% increase in speed, which is not a big return considering you're having 2 people rowing versus 1, 4 oars versus 2. So it had to be some way that the paddles were working in a way that it would be worth it for the animal to have 4 paddles instead of 2. I mean, look at sea lions. They're fast and maneuverable as all heck, right?
Right.
And they only got 2. So if they could have 4, why? And then I realized what the secret was, the trick was that, or my theory, is that they were moving through different ranges of motion, different planes. So they weren't pushing the same water. And then when I started looking at skeletons, and I noticed that they had, for example, they had the pectoral girdle in the front was angled up, whereas the pelvic girdle in the back was angled in the opposite direction, toward the vent. See? And combined with what's called adaptive rib shortening, the ribs by the shoulder were short, but the ribs by the rear paddles were pretty much non-existent. They had devolved into almost nothing. And nature obviously eliminates these things that you don't want bones getting in the way of a body's range of motion. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that suggested then that the rear paddles were more like a penguin's or sea turtles, but not able to go as high because they don't have an elbow, whereas the rear paddles were pushing more laterally. They could go higher up and push straight back, kind of like you and I flutter kicking when we're swimming, providing constant, momentum, let's say. And that was the secret. See, that's how it was. That was the answer right there that nobody could figure out. There were a couple papers like Carpenter's, I think it was from 2010, where they discussed, they noticed in the rear of the skeletons, the rear paddles, the ranges seemed different, and they thought that might have something to do with maneuvering, or something like that. But it wasn't maneuvering. It was just thrust. I mean, they would maneuver, obviously, also by flicking, changing, pushing different directions, stuff like that. But they were in the right direction, but they hadn't realized what was going on. But that was the ultimate answer, though.
Okay. That was very interesting, and
you got me rambling with science stuff. People are gonna be like, "Yeah, tell us about the Bigfoot."
Okay, we're getting to that. We're getting to the Kronosapiens. Since we do want talk a little bit about your novella, and it's entitled Purgatory. And
Cronus Rising Purgatory. It's part of the Cronus Rising series. People need to realize that if they go on Amazon, just look at Purgatory, you're going to have like 1,000 books to look at stuff. So.
Okay, so and it's an appropriate title, kind of.
Oh yeah, I get my title
stuck between heaven and hell.
Well, it's actually I plan titles out like years and years and years in advance, sometimes longer, believe it or not. I sit on things, and I have different files for all different future books and blah blah blah. But yeah, Purgatory was the continuation of the adventures of a character named Jake Braddock, which a lot of people were very eager to hear about, because the way I left off when I closed out the Cronus Rising Kraken trilogy, which was, people loved the story. It ended with Jake and his nemesis, an evil scientist named Eric Grayson, being trapped on a fictitious island that I invented called Diablo Caldera off the coast of Cuba. And Diablo Caldera, a caldera is like a volcano that's blown its stack many years ago, so it's only like a giant bowl, was like a Cretaceous island caldera that was there when the asteroid struck us that took out the dinosaurs 65, 66 million years ago. So in the story, I use this to explain how all these prehistoric marine monsters, including my beloved pliosaurs, were able to be alive to the present and also concealed. I had it so that asteroid's impact with a 3,000-foot or 1,000-meter tidal waves swept up like all this marine life, an entire ecosystem, enveloped this caldera and kept going. So it basically instantly created a gigantic saltwater aquarium. And these creatures, a whole ecosystem, were imprisoned in there for 66 million years until the present, where a tremor shattered the opening, put an opening in it, temporarily, and a lot of stuff that was in there escaped. Hence, we have the whole situation that we have in the series now. But there are still creatures in that caldera, on land, in the water, etc. And nobody's ever explored it before, at least why he's never spent much time there without getting eaten by something. So Jake is now there on this caldera with his arch enemy, like kind of trapped there. And then the question is, of course, what's going to happen from there? So the purgatory part comes from the fact that, people have to know this if they're going to know it. So Jake is no longer human at this point. This scientist has experimented on him and turned him into a half man, half reptile creature, this huge, powerful, dangerous, man-eating monster. He's still him, but he's been through hell. And now he's trapped in this hell on earth place filled with giant prehistoric predators in the water and God knows what's on dry land, etc. And he finds out other things are there as well, including like cast-off experiments that this scientist and his people did, where they tried turning people into these super soldiers before, and they end up creating this ravening mob of reptilians that are totally inhuman, have no thought processes. They're like piranhas on steroids, and they just travel around like army ants and eat anything in their path. And Jake is now trapped on this island with hundreds and hundreds of these creatures and his arch enemy. And he finds himself in a situation now where not only does he have to survive, hopefully, but what's he going to do about Eric Grayson? Is he going to let these creatures eat him and then be denied his revenge? Is he going to kill him himself real quick and then make a run for it? Is he going to protect him? It's a whole crisis of conscience situation, and he's literally in purgatory. He's trapped almost like hell on earth in this place. Where
just that there's several of these in between states going on. You're not here, you're not there, you're just kind of en route somewhere, but you don't know where. It's like Twilight Zone, but you do have, as they make their way across the Island of Diablo, you do incorporate the tropical rainforest problems that you're going to encounter with heat, which makes you become dehydrated. You need to drink something, but there's salt water. But if you go down, to get a drink, you have your critters hidden under the surface of the water. Is it brackish water? Salt water? So the characters have to deal with that. Plus, you get all the reptilian hybrid human creatures. If the listeners enjoy the Walking Dead series. Mm-hmm. They would like reading your book. It's there's nonstop action and battles, and fighting for survival.
Oh well, yeah.
You do a really nice job. Keeping the reader enthralled. Mm-hmm. Enthrall me with your acumen.
Well, you got to set the stage. You want to do it subtly, and you want to keep the people aware of the surroundings and tastes of it, so they feel like they're there and experiencing it without doing an info dump where you're just deluging people with info. You have to, it's got to be worked into the story. But in the situation of Diablo Caldera, you've got a little microcosm, this little prehistoric world that's out of whack, because you've got these mutated things that have been deposited there, hidden from, dumped there like a dumping ground, like toxic waste, that don't belong there, that are running around eating and attacking everything in there, maybe wiping out prehistoric species even that have survived so many millions of years, and now they're being exposed to these nightmares, etc. But the Walking Dead thing, these like I could read some stuff for your people if you want, but
sure, we can do that.
Yeah. These reptilians are not slow-moving, lumbering, creatures. They are fast, they are powerful, they're hard to kill, and they come at you in a mob. and there was one character that was killed in like one of the Kraken books, where he was dragged down and they started eating him alive, ripping open his stomach and engorging on his intestines while he's screaming in agony and stuff. And they don't care about that. They're just this stuff. It's quite horrific. And yeah, it's like there was one review I remember. The person said Jurassic Park meets World War Z and then some. And that's kind of like what you're looking for.
Yeah.
It gives you the best of both worlds if you think about it.
Oh, you already Jen Amato has already given you a couple good reviews in the 40 minutes that we've been doing the show.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, she thinks you're a good teacher and amazing books.
I'm humbled.
Okay. Thanks, Jen, for listening.
Listening to Max ramble, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, there's somewhat of a structure to the show. It's not incoherent rambling, but we're getting somewhere. We're connecting with the audience. But
my daughter thinks that I talk too much all the time, especially in front of her friends. She's at that age and all that. So, sometimes I'm not allowed to talk. Like, you have to be quiet. You can't be talking. I'm like, oh, okay, Peanut. So now earlier it was like, I got to get, I just took her and her girlfriend out for a movie and stuff. And we had to rush back for the show and all that. And I was like, I got to talk for 2 hours straight. She's like, you can do it, Dad. I know you can. If anybody can talk for 2 hours nonstop, it's you. And I'm like, thank you, Peanut. You're always there for me, building me up. It just, couldn't do it without you.
Okay. Since we've already touched on some of the evolutionary traits that appear in Kronos Rising Purgatory, the reptilians do use the echolocation clicks to communicate.
Wait. Who uses? Say that again. Who uses it?
Like the reptilian humanoid.
They don't use it. No, Jake has like sonar, like echolocation. They function more on just sounds, cries, smell, that type of stuff. They don't have the sonar. I know Jake uses the sonar to keep tabs on them as hordes of them are trying to cut him off, and as they're racing through the jungle, and different groups of them are trying to cut off his retreat and stuff like that. It's a fighter for survival, I guess you'd say, nonstop thing. But here a superb description of it. I was just looking at it on the website there. A horror fan, as this person says, he described the book, a running battle against seemingly insurmountable odds. Oh, I like this part. Hawthorne writes action sequences as well as Robert E. Howard. Now that's flattering, honestly. But the part about the running battle, that's basically what Purgatory is all about. It's like trying to escape. You're trapped in this prison, even though it's a beautiful jungle, and trying to stay alive and trying to figure out, is there an escape? What can happen? What can you do? Yada, yada, yada. Are you going to, run out of ammunition and get dragged down and eaten alive like the other guy did? What's going to happen? Type stuff. Sorry. There's that rambling again.
But, with those, as I go into, my little rambling thing. Now, there are those clicks that Jake uses, and I was thinking, that is maybe something similar that you have in your. I was just wondering about it in your. Monsters and Marine Mysteries book with the chapter entitled Ghost Fish, and it's the crying carp. The whimpering noises that and you caught him in the Merrimack River in Massachusetts.
No. The carp, the ghost fish, was at a pond near our old house in New Jersey. Actually, the Merrimack one.
That was grunting sounds. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, that doesn't. It's not echolocation or anything like that. But I mean, carp sometimes can make noise. You know, but this was just odd because I had been away for a couple of weeks and I went to this spot and I was looking to catch a small carp, which I was going to cut up to use for bait because I was going to take my father fishing off the Delaware River wall at night for channel cats. That was like a thing father-son thing we were doing. And the carp meat was, stays on the hook really well and stinks. And so it's oily and it's a great bait, but you need a carp to do that. So I wanted to catch a small fish. And so when I got there was all these weird like flags sticking up out of the water and stuff, like these red things. I didn't know what that was, so I ignored them. And then I fished or whatever. And the only fish I caught was this relatively large carp. It weighed like 20 solid pounds. And I felt bad, but I'd been there for hours, and I needed to take my dad fishing like the next night, and I was like, I don't want to do this, I try to do this painlessly, where I take like a rubber mallet and whack the fish over the head to kill it. And it's a horrible thing. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. So, and I didn't want to do it in the first place, and I had the fish, and the fish saw me, and it saw this plastic bag and this mallet, and it knew was up for some reason, and it started making these piteous cries, like this, like like it was crying. It didn't sound like a carp grunt. It sounded like a kid or something like that. It was like heartbreaking, and I was like, I couldn't do it. I put the stuff down. I said, "It's your lucky day," and I put it in the water. Her in the water. I think it was a female that size, and she just took off on her way. So when I left and I came up the hill, I saw on the side there, past where my truck was, there was this memorial, and apparently this young woman had been found dead a couple of days earlier in the pond. Don't know what happened, whatever. It was very mysterious, and I just had a feeling that was her spirit in the fish, and it just really was like eerie and all. I mean, that's just my opinion.
It is.
But the way the fish was acting, it knew. I could see its eyes. They were like bulging, like, oh my God, it's like he's not going to let me go, this type of stuff. And then this crying sound, this mewling sounds and stuff. And I was freaked out, and I felt very bad. And thank God I let the fish go, and that was that. But, so I don't know if that's what it was, but that was just my impression.
Okay. I can't disprove it or prove it. There's a lot of weird stuff that happens.
Yeah, I don't like killing fish, to be honest. I mean, 99% of the fish I catch, they get released, and that's that.
Catch and release. Okay.
Yeah, I've given up multiple world records, honestly, that I could have IGFA, all tackle world records, several more, if I'd been willing to kill a 700-something pound blue shark. I was not. Or a giant nurse shark. I was not. I don't. It's not my thing. But different people, different strokes, different folks, whatever it's called. All that.
Yeah, with Kronos Rising Purgatory, it's a novella. It's a very enjoyable, shorter read. I don't know. It took me a couple, 2-3 evenings to get through it.
To get through it, as if it were suffering. I have to get through it. Oh, I got to read this. I have him on the show. Oh. Sorry. Go ahead. You were saying you got through it after 2 or 3 evenings. Go on.
Yeah. It's not. It's different than reading War and Peace.
Ooh, there's
but when you're writing a novella, how is that different than writing a series or a
fully
novel, fully developed novel?
Well, I think the thing that people like about Kronos Rising Purgatory is that it's nonstop action and excitement. I mean, I have a reputation as an author. I used to do a bit of boxing and stuff like that. So my writing style is, I don't like Michael Crichton was a genius, but he was also Michael Crichton. So when he started telling you a story, it would take him sometimes 2 or 3 chapters before he really had you hooked. I know, because I've read some of his books, and I was like, okay, this is okay, it's okay, it's okay. And the next thing I knew, 50, 60 pages in, all of a sudden I was like, oh, I got to read this book. I can't stop. Me, I come at you and and I want to give you a jab to the nose, boom, right out of the gate. I want people hooked from word one and carry them along from that point forward. That's my writing style. So with Purgatory, I was faced with a situation where you start with action, and you're going to end with action, basically, pretty much. You're going to have your character's arc, the adventure, and then the resolution at the end. But pretty much everything from point A until the end of that to point B is pretty much ongoing excitement, suspense, action, combat, etc. The trick, of course, in 100 pages is keeping it interesting, variety. It could have been bigger. I cut out what would have been another 20, 25 pages, honestly, a whole thing that I just, I don't need this. That's just the way it is. Sometimes you got to throw the, some of the baby out with the bathwater or something like that. I don't know. But, I think people really, if you read the reviews, they like it because they get into it, and it's not like there's no foreplay. There's no dragging things out. You're in an adventure. Are you going to make it? Aren't you? Are you going to get eaten? Are you going to win? What's going to happen? And if you know the character already, if you've read the series, which most people have at that point because they're buying this novella that's like book 7 in the series, you already know this person. So you're in their corner from the get-go. You know what they've been through. You know what the villain's done to him already and such. So now you're just swept into this additional 100-page adventure that answers all the questions. What happened to Jake at the end of the story? Was he killed? Wasn't he? Because we left off with him, walking in the jungle, chasing this guy down, and all of a sudden hearing all these hunting cries from these hordes of creatures that were coming to get him, and he knew what it was, and he got his weapons. He has a sword, a 600-year-old claymore, and a pair of semi-auto shotguns that he brought from the sub. So he has some weapons, and he's preparing to defend himself and to sell his life as dearly as he can. See, so people wanted to know, did he live? Did he die? Did he get eaten? Did he take over? What happened? What happened to Eric Grayson? Grayson we hate with a passion. Did he get his comeuppance finally? What happened there, So all these questions were all answered in that intense 100-something pages.
Okay. I enjoyed it. And
you got through it, I know.
And your work and even your Facebook groups and people really enjoy what the product you put out there to the public. They have a good time, Jen was commenting earlier.
I don't have access to, if there's a chat, like a group chat that you have, I have no idea what's going on in there, so I can't see anything. Just so you know, if there's something going on there.
Oh no, it's just Jen's just a big fan of yours. That's why she had you on her show.
Jen is the best of the best. Okay, I cannot say enough good things about her, and I'm not just saying that because she's listening and I'm kissing up. Okay. No, seriously, total awesomeness.
Yeah, but you have lots of people who want to be served up by in your book to be killed by mosasaur, plesiosaur. Yeah, they're commenting all the time. Yeah, people really enjoy your books, and they're asking, "What can I do to be killed in your next book by whatever the monster of the novel is?
I never hear these things from people, so they must be telling you this, but you're not telling me.
Well, I've seen it in your chat room.
Oh, I must be oblivious. Well, I never see the chat room, so I guess that's why. But I mean, in all the books I've written, I've only done that once, and it was my very first novel, Cronus Rising, book 1 in the series. And a friend of mine, his last name is Melito, Andrew Melito. He knew I was working on the manuscript for my first novel, and he was like, "I know this is going to be big. It's going to be big." He's like, "I want to be in the story." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Come on, hook a brother up." I'm like, but he goes. Then he's telling me, he goes, "Look, a friend of mine that I grew up with is a screenwriter in Hollywood, and he was saying how that guy used to write the Three's Company show. You remember the old show with John?
Oh, yeah.
And so that he was explaining how his friend had written this one episode where, like, at some point in the script in the thing, Jack had been lamenting about his old high school girlfriend. I think her name was it was Italian, like Maria Di Giacomo or something like that. Okay, and so he mentions her a few times at the end, like they could have been real and all this stuff, and but it didn't work out and whatever. And at the end, he has some bad breakup with some girl he was dating, and then he cries out like, "Maria Di Giacomo, where are you when I need you?" I'm sure that's not the real name. I'm just throwing something out there. But the point is, Andrew was telling me how the guy, the screenwriter, used his actual girlfriend's name and put her in there so she was immortalized in an episode of Three's Company, her actual name. So that's what he wanted. He wanted to have his name in Cronus Rising. And I was like, well, look, if we're doing this, you got to have to sign a full release form, and I can do anything I want with this character. And he's, no problem. I'll sign whatever you want. And he did. And I was like, it can't be a major character. He said, no, I don't care. Something in passing. I just want to see my name in print. And I'm like, all right, look, there's a scene in the book where there's this guy. He's like some wealthy guy, and he's got a sailboat, a schooner, and he gets eaten by the monster. He's like, I said, so when they find him, when you first meet the character, he's already dead. They find half his body on the schooner, holding the steering wheel, and he was trying to climb out of the water, and he'd been bitten in half, like in Jaws, below the waist, all right? But everything from the waist down is gone, okay? And just his upper body is there, et cetera, and his wife is missing also, totally, et cetera. He goes, I'll take it. I'm like, are you serious? He goes, yes. He goes, ooh, can I name the boat too? And I said, what'd you have in mind? He goes, I want to name it my boat, because he had his own boat, And I was like, what's the name of the boat? He goes, the Aquaholic. And I was like, that'll work. Okay, so Angelo is in Cronus Rising. He's even in the screenplay, so if this movie deal goes through and stuff, he's probably going to be in that too, okay? But he's the only person that I've ever used a real person, put in the book, et cetera. And, he was excited about that part, and he's a great guy, so, I haven't spoken to him in a number of years, but, I was happy to do it for him. So if there's other people that want to be eaten, I don't know. They're going to have to reach out because, I got a lot of hungry monsters out there and stuff, but I don't know. We have to work out some details if I could do it,
So Three's Company is a trendsetter.
Well, apparently it was for, him because, like I said, he had it. He knew this story from his friend. That's what he told me. And, he wanted that for himself. He wanted his name to be somewhere where he could say to people, hey, check out this book. He goes, go on page 367. No, third paragraph down. Yeah. Whose name is that? Who's that? That's right. Yeah. I got it going on. I got friends in low places. Yeah. So, anyway, I'm sorry. Like I said, I didn't take my pills today, so I'm a little weird. A little weirder than normal.
It's perfect for a Halloween show. So, okay. So, did you want to read a few pages to give our international listeners a little bit more of a flavor of
the flavor. No, how the people get taste when the monster eats them, you mean?
Yeah, Kronos, the flavor of Kronos Rising Purgatory.
Okay, I'll do it. But
right.
I've read in other shows, even Coast to Coast, I've read from the beginning of the novella, and I'm bored with it. All right, so I don't want to read from the beginning. I'm going to read a few pages from starting in chapter 2. Okay? So I got to set the stage. So people got to remember, you got a 7-foot, 400-something pound Jake Braddock, super powerful, half man, half pliosaur, prehistoric reptile character. Okay, armed with a sword, a 600-year-old sword, and a couple of specially designed semi-auto combat shotguns. He's fighting hordes of these reptilians, these creatures, okay, from the Caldera. And at this point, he's been carrying Eric Grayson along with him because he has decided he's going to kill Grayson himself, but he wants to make sure he gets to enjoy it. And Grayson is a true villain. Besides turning Jake into the creature he is, starving him into eating people, he also murdered Jake's wife, and has a plan to release a plague to wipe out 99.9% of humanity. No reference to anything going on in our world, I hope. Okay, so I'm just telling you, we're kind of in the middle of the combat thing when he's on the run and all that stuff, and these things are closing in, et cetera. So this way people know what's going on a little bit, okay? So they're not getting hit out of left field like, who's Jake? What's that? Why does he have this weapon? Blah, 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 blah. Okay? We good?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, cool. I should say, wait, let me go get a drink right now and then leave everybody sitting there like, what? But anyway, chapter 2. Oh, and remember, we're on an island, a Cretaceous era island, rainforest type stuff, big saltwater lake somewhere in there, okay, et cetera. Okay. I hope I'm up for this. Me. Wait, I thought I was singing in the shower. Okay.
No, we can do the singing in a little bit.
Oh, God.
We have to we have an hour to work in your musical career.
Yeah, or lack thereof. Okay, Chapter 2, Kronos Rising Purgatory, available in softcover and ebook, exclusively on Amazon. Look up Kronos Rising, Kronos with a K, Purgatory, or just look up Max Hawthorne. Chapter 2, the downpour had become a steady drizzle as Jake remained stone statue still, waiting for his enemies. His wait was fleeting, with the 10 yards separating them vanishing in just over a second. As before, there had been no fainting or feeling out process. The reptilians came straight at him, like spokes heading for the center of a wheel. Unwilling to risk further giving away his position to the larger groups hunting him, Jake decided to take the newcomers on hand to hand, using his 55-inch greatsword. It was a risky move. The chance of injury was great, especially for his squirming passenger, but the blade would be infinitely quieter than the boom of a 12-gauge shotgun. Accustomed to their prey being petrified with fear, the trio welcomed Jake's immobility. They had no way of knowing their target was blanketing the air around him with wave after wave of active sonar. For the former black belt, it was a trick worthy of a Jedi. Even with his eyes closed, he could see everything. And so he watched them close the distance, waiting with death-like patience for the opening he needed. The moment it came, he made his move. Stepping adroitly back to increase the distance between himself and the two closing from the front, he retreated toward the one attacking from the rear. Coincidentally, it was the largest of the group. His would-be backstabber, rabid with hunger and encouraged by its victim's apparent naivety, went for the kill. It was less than a yard away when Jake pulled a disappearing act. Sidestepping it while executing a lightning-fast 180, he ducked under its outstretched arms. Its filthy talons passed harmlessly through the space where his head and neck had been mere milliseconds before. Then three things happened in rapid-fire succession. Using a one-handed reverse grip, he slammed the razor edge of his claymore's blade against the big reptilian's exposed stomach region and drew it sideways. Then he C-stepped around behind it so that it was between him and its hard-charging companions. Last but not least, he delivered a good, swift kick to its grimy rear, sending it on its way. Momentarily confused as to how their target magically transformed into one of their own, the other two creatures came to a screeching halt. Their indecision soon vanished, however, as their companion staggered toward them, its blood-soaked hands cradling its abdomen. It uttered a wheeze-like hiss, then watched in dismay as its dark-colored intestines spilled out like a string of steaming sausage links, plopping onto the soaked forest floor. The uninjured man-reptiles exchanged anticipatory glances. Then, eyes bright and howling gleefully, they forgot about Jake and pounced on their hapless compatriot. Incapable of defending itself, it vanished in a flailing ball of mud, blood, teeth, and talons. Its struggles availed it naught, and its failing eyes were soon forced to watch as its comrades tore open its abdominal cavity and began gorging on its guts. Jake's eye slitted up at the harrowing display. Then he gave his claymore a quick de-blooding flick and took off. As much as he abhorred his blade getting gunked up, the rain would have to do the rest. He needed to put some distance between him and raw. He had just passed the nearest tree when the fourth reptilian pounced. It must have been there the entire time, observing. Once its cohorts had taken out, it remained where it was, biding its time, waiting for him to come to it. Only Jake's reflexes prevented him from being caught flat-footed. Even so, he knew, even as he tried dodging, he couldn't avoid the thing completely. That is, without it getting its claws on Grayson. Forced yet again to shield his hated enemy from harm, Jake mouthed a vile expletive and did the only thing he could. He turned his left shoulder to the strike. The tactic worked. Mostly. He winced as the reptilian's ragged claws tore through the tough skin of his upper back. Encouraged by the sight and scent of blood, the saurian continued forward, aggressively pressing its assault. Oddly enough, just like last time, this one seemed more interested in Grayson than it was in him. He found himself wondering if it was because of the old man's feebleness, or if the Caldera creatures remembered him as the source of their suffering. If it was the latter, it meant his plan to keep the CEO alive had become much more complicated. Jake realized with a pain-filled grunt that keeping this latest attacker at bay was all but impossible. He was off balance and couldn't get the leverage he needed. Compared to the others, the creature was calculating. Each time he tried turning his sword arm toward it, it moved with him, raking his exposed arm and shoulder like an enraged cat. At the same time, he could see it was attempting to gain enough purchase to spring on top of him. Once it did, it would be able to bring its full weight and strength to bear. Worse, if he didn't dispatch it quickly, his perceived vulnerability might encourage its friends to give up their ghastly buffet and join in. With three of them on top of him, he'd be in over his head. Enough was enough. With impressive savagery, he lashed out with a sidekick that snapped his attacker's leg at the knee. It uttered a pain-filled screech as it went down, its lower leg flopping around at an odd angle and hatred in its eyes. Not feeling the need to stand on ceremony, Jake spun around to leave. As he did, however, his tenacious opponent somehow managed to launch itself forward and latched onto his right thigh. Claws digging in, it clung to him like Velcro, snapping and snarling as it attempted to sink his teeth into his flank. There's an expletive here. I'm not going to say it. It starts with M and ends in R. I'm just going to do two more paragraphs.
Okay.
Raising his claymore's point high overhead, the big man rained blows from its steel pommel down on the reptilian's head. Blood sprayed and scales flew, with the third strike punching a doorknob-sized hole clean through the top of its cranium and driving jagged bone fragments into what passed for its brain. The saurian froze in place, its crimson eyes blinking confusedly, its gnarled hands still locked onto Jake's leg. A sudden twist and a second kick sent it tumbling head over heels. It collapsed in a spasming heap, barely cognizant of a bloodied and panting Jake Braddock plunging through a waterlogged wall of thorn bushes and continuing on his way.
Boop. Okay, I think that was a very appropriate Halloween reading. You give us some really descriptive details that probably put it alongside of classics like Bram Stoker's Dracula, with the biting and tearing into the flesh. You have very it's very visual. It probably for the readers, it might be almost like a visceral reaction to listening to you read, or your words, not your reading, but the whole book's filled with things like the narrow escapes and fight for survival.
That you got to give the people quality. I mean, there's a million authors out there. Literally, they can read anybody's stuff. I don't I put a lot of effort into my work. Every single word. The most flattering review I saw on this book was a person said something like, "I love this book. I loved every single word in it. Everything." And there was more to the review than that, but it's like, you give people quality, they appreciate it. I don't I don't worry about page count. A lot of publishers, they want to get the smallest book possible, and you take away some of the more flowery writing, the prose, etc., bare bonesing it, I call it. Okay, and the idea is, the reader will imagine all that themselves. But it's not the reader's job to imagine everything. It's my job to set the stage to let their imagination spread its wings and take flight. And you do that by giving quality descriptions without overloading, etc., working it into the story, that type of stuff. See? I mean, if I'm reading a book, and my editor has pet peeves about this, for example, where he'll start reading a book and he sees a lot of these where he doesn't know what the character even looks like 5 chapters in. I mean, George R. Martin is a master of giving you a visual of a character in a simple paragraph. You know so much about this person, their personality, how they look, their expression, everything like that. It's all there. You have to do that. If you don't, you're shortchanging your readers, and the economy ain't great. By the way, this Kindle's only $2.99. That's cheaper than a gallon of gas, people. Okay, I'm just telling you, and you won't feel used after you get it. But it's like people. If you're going to spend your hard-earned money on a book, especially one of mine, I want to make sure that you feel like you got your money's worth. That's all.
What you were just saying about J.R.R. Martin's books, you get a good description.
Sense of what people look like. Yeah, I mean, I don't read his books, to be honest. I only read one page or something like that, and it was a description of the Hound or somebody like that. I forget who it was.
Okay, but Dickens did that too. He's probably the greatest novelist in the English language, and one of the leading novelists around the world. I think what you're doing is what readers want. What the example you gave of the reader, just kind of say the reptilian type humanoid bit the guy. That's all they need to know. Well, the lack of words isn't always best. That kind of goes back to movie making, and you kind of suggest something in the movie, and that becomes a little scarier than actually showing something. Like you don't see Jaws a lot in the movie, because it was a prop that really didn't work most of the time. And you just get like the camera just kind of swimming under all the people, 30 yards off the beach.
Mm-hmm.
But that works fine for that medium. But people like to read exactly. They want to know exactly what's going on. They want to experience that. What you're saying, Jake being bitten and twisting his leg out the mouth. I just want to just go through the whole experience. I think what you're doing is the right thing.
Well, it helps also if you have some actual combat experience. If you've been in your share of scraps, which I have. So it helps if you can. Like you have to draw from real life.
Yeah.
You need if you know what pain is, if you know what fear is, if you know what rage is, that type of stuff. I mean, when that first alligator was trying to eat me, many years ago, that was a taste of what it feels like to have a reptile want to kill you and make a meal out of you. And you feed off of these things. You use these things. You adapt them so that you can put yourself in the character's soul. See, I'm an empath. I can literally physically feel other people's emotions. That's a fact. Okay. And so I use that ability to place myself into the persona of characters and creatures and things like that. And I've brought, whales to life and adapted to how the whale would think. You have to take its intellect, what kind of intellect it has, personality, its environments that are gigantic octopi, and how would they be that would differ from something else? The pliosaurs, these giant marine reptiles, all this other stuff. These reptilians that you were reading about and stuff. Not Jake. I mean, Jake's his own person. So he has his own personality from being a human and now what he is now. But if you use all that, you can breathe life into any character you want, and the people will get behind you because they know they could feel like that's what it feels like to be one of these things or to have this thing coming after you, and they like that. I really enjoy bringing worlds to life for my readers. Whether it's like a scene in a bar, or if it's an entire planetary scale effect or whatever it might be. Anyway, I digressed. Apologies.
No, I'm glad you went into detail about your approaches to writing, because I'm sure there are many authors in the audience who are stuck at the moment, get slow to get started, put something down for a while, and they don't know where to take the story.
I understand.
I think you're providing a great PSA for the listeners on. Just don't quit. Keep working on what you've written, and
you have to
even get it published.
Yeah, you have to be tenacious. I'm not trying to like saying this tell a sob story, but when I had AP English and stuff in college, but my major was film and animation. Okay, so I never did any writing class or anything like that. When I decided to become a novelist, I taught myself how to write. I bought a bunch of books on how to write novels. I pretended I was in a classroom environment. I followed things. I gave myself assignments, all this stuff like that. And then when I thought I knew everything, I found out I didn't know jack. Okay. I wrote Kronos Rising, and then a friend of mine who's a top screenwriter in Hollywood, he read it and he was like, all right, so we got some problems. So I went through a whole learning thing with him. This is a long time ago, but and I remember I had a headset on. I was taking notes and all this stuff like that. Like in the beginning back then, Kronos Rising had the prologue. There was a prologue at the beginning of the story, and it was all the Cretaceous flashback scenes that are in the book, that are interspersed throughout the book, all at the beginning. And he was like, you can't do that. You're giving away the entire thing. We know what the monster is now, everything about it, blah, 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 blah. It's got to go. I'm sorry. I know it feels like you're murdering your child, but it's out. And I was like, okay, you know. But I was tenacious about it. Okay, I figured a way to stick it in the story later on in pieces here and there as another plot line. So I salvaged it. Okay, but I've had my work torn to pieces. Who was that guy? I rewrote the book multiple times, like not from scratch, but edited, changed, tweaked, changed.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about 193,000 words. That's major. You know, it took 9 months to write just the first draft. Okay, but while working a full-time job and all this stuff, it was great back then. I used to be in my job and I would be like doing editing, like when my boss wasn't looking. You know, I'd have it on the Word doc on the screen, and I could see her office at the corner of my eye. Whenever I saw her office door open, I would click save, close, and pretend I was working. It was great, you know. But anyway, just editing, not actual writing, because, you know, you can't be in the zone there and stuff. But it was pretty cool. But anyway, the point is I had to rewrite this book so many times. And then I thought it was all ready. And then who's that guy's name? David Goodman. He was the executive producer of The Family Guy, and for many, many years. And he was, I think, my friend's cousin's, he was married to my friend's cousin, if I recall correctly. So he ended up reviewing some of my book and all. He tore me a new one, and I still have the emails. I'm talking emails that are 2 pages long, and when I say 2 pages, I'm talking 400 words a page of abuse. Okay, but he was spot on with a lot of his stuff. So it was helpful, constructive criticism, as painful as it may be. So I ended up rewriting, and in the end, I become friends with a retired movie star named Mara Corday, and before Kronos was finally ready to come out and all, she offered to edit the book for me, and it turned out. So I had a retired movie star. I mean, it's the woman who was in Tarantula, The Giant Claw, The Black Scorpion, and tons of cowboy movies, all sorts of stuff. She's an amazing actress, looked like Elizabeth Taylor in her prime. But so I had a retired movie star edit my book. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I started off knowing nobody and then built into this whole thing. And so, it was like I call her my maestra instead of maestro of typos. She was really ruthless and all that. So, but anyway, and by the way, MaraCorday.com. Wait. I gotta do this. Okay, if you're fans of Mara Corday, because she's still with us, she has her own website, MARA Corday, CORDAY.com. And if you want to get a signed poster or, stuff like that, go check it out. I'm sorry, you were saying?
With the family, the producer of The Family Guy and Mara's
help
work with you, you learned how to
take abuse. Yes.
Yeah. That and turn it into something productive. You learned to be a better author, and which helps you to connect with your audience.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you're a neophyte, new to
you have to listen. You have to listen to the experienced people.
Yeah. And the typical saying is that a first novel is never good. That's what the industry feels. First-time novels are never good because, you make a lot of mistakes and you don't see the forest for the trees, shall we say. It's hard to distance yourself from certain things. You might have bad writing habits. You might have holes in your writing style, which I used to, etc. That was funny how I solved all that stuff. But and so when you put all that together, you could see why a first book would tend to not be good. But I was lucky enough that I put so much of my heart and soul in it and learned from people, like you said, and such, that I ended up with a very good finished product. And it turned out that way. I mean, it won a Book of the Year award and a whole bunch of other stuff, and it sold like hotcakes, and that's opened the door for where we are today.
Well, good for you. Okay, and
thank you.
You know, I couldn't pass up asking a question about your reference to Slee Stacks. So, did you grow up?
Oh, yes,
listening to Land of the Lost?
Listening, I watched it every time it was on. Yeah, I still know the song, but I can't sing it probably for copyright reasons and stuff like that. Yeah, in fact, I have the entire series on a bunch of DVDs, case and stuff. So I used to love that show. I always hated Grumpy. At the time he was fighting with Big Alice, the Allosaurus, and he was like biting her and hurting her. So I was like, get him, Big Alice, give it to him. But the Slee Stacks, they were like, honestly, they were like the Star Wars stormtroopers of their day to me. They were like big and strong, but they were slow and easy to evade and just kind of generally incompetent. Scary, like kind of like zombies, slow-moving zombies coming after you and stuff, But I really enjoyed that show, which obviously probably contributed to what I do today in some shape, form, or fashion.
Yeah,
I want to sing a song, but I know I shouldn't, so I'm not going to. Oh, and then the remake of Land of the Lost. I love that part at the end.
Ferrell.
Yeah, when he's back on that guy's show, and he makes what's his face, Matt Lauer, is that the guy?
Yeah, I think he
gets that big scandal. Yeah, but he was back on the show, and he made him read a thing. It says like Matt Lauer can suck it or something like that in the book, and then he's like, "You son of a," and he attacks like Will Ferrell and stuff. They start fighting. That was great. I love that movie.
Yeah, the series. I just really enjoyed that. When was that on? 74 or something like that. Watching that on Saturday morning.
I am old and decrepit.
But that was. There was something about that show. They still appear at
conventions, sci-fi conventions and stuff. Oh, I'd love to meet some of those people. Let me tell you, it was a cool show. It really was. I mean, the stop motion animation show.
And that was worked in with the Paul Cooney, actor people. It was all for a low budget kids show at the 50 years ago. Mm-hmm. It actually maintains an appeal.
It does. It's true. It really does. I gotta see if my daughter wants to watch that show. Slap some DVDs in there and stuff like that. I mean, she might be a little too old now. I probably missed my window, but maybe if some bribery or something like that. Come on, Peanut, just watch like one episode with Daddy. What do you say? I'm so old. You should help me out now before I'm gone. Humor me, Like when I love going to IHOP and I get to order off the senior menu and everything, and they're like, "You're 55 and old." I really am. I can do the voice if it helps you. Little Gabby Hayes coming out or something like, I don't know, or Walter Pigeon, one of those guys. My dad would have known that stuff. By the way, I digress constantly, but yeah, that line where it says, "Not feeling the need to stand on ceremony, Jake spun around to leave." Well, that's a little tiny homage to my dad, who passed away a few years ago from COVID and stuff. But he used to say that all the time, like, "You're going to call me, right?" I'm like, "Sure I am." He goes, don't stand on ceremony, this type of stuff and everything like that. Dad, don't worry, I'm going to call you, so, but it says not feeling the need to stand on ceremony. That's my little homage to my pops and stuff, among other things. I'm sure there's other things that pop in here or there, and stuff. You can't help it. Easter eggs. Oh, and by the way, for all the Cronus Rising fans, you need to get the sleigh, okay? Because there are Easter eggs in there. There's a couple Cronus Rising Easter eggs and stuff like that. And I'll be very curious to see who gets what and figures it out and stuff. I might even throw some prizes at people that do that. We'll see.
Okay, so that will be available
Halloween.
on Halloween.
Yeah, it's already available in pre-release purchase right now. The Kindle version, the ebook version, which you can read on any device. I don't want to hear that. I don't have a Kindle. I read Kindles on my phone. I read to my daughter, before bed and stuff like that. You can read. I love Kindles. Do you know why? Of course, I'm old and my eyes ain't what they used to be. So I can enlarge the font. I can increase the brightness, whatever. It's awesome. It picks up where you left off. And for people who get like my book, Monsters Marine Mysteries, with all the cryptids and stuff, all the references that I use in there, all the links, are live. So you can be reading about these mega sharks and stuff like that and say, oh, Hawthorne's full of crap. I don't buy this. And then I'm going to check this link. And you just, instead of having to go on and start typing, you just push the button, boop, and there you are. You got it right there. Makes your life so easy.
So how is that another example of how technology is really changing the publishing business? Because it's, when I got started in this podcasting, there really wasn't print on demand. That came like maybe a couple years later, and now it's changed even more with this, like, just download it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sorry. So what was the question? I don't.
There is one. I was just doing my rambling, but it's just the industry just keeps changing so quickly. Jen said she's going to order it right now, the sleigh right now.
I thank her. She's real. I got to say this.
She's one of your biggest fans, which we know how that worked out in Misery, but I don't think Jen's really.
Nah, I gave up being tied to beds a long time ago. So.
Okay, we don't need to know that.
Yes, it's true. But anyway, the Sleigh is a Christmas horror thriller. Okay, I pride myself on my writings and my writing style improving and evolving book by book by book. You see it in Purgatory, for example. The writing is nice and crisp and informative, but it carries you along. You're like carried through the story, word by word, sentence by sentence, graph by graph, page by page. People read I've had people tell me, I read your whole 600-page book and it went so fast I couldn't believe it. Because it's not a chore. If you write eloquently and properly and you do this, it's good for people. The Sleigh is my best work to date. It's a great story. I don't want to do any spoilers or anything. I mean, the description is on there on Amazon and but it's not what people think. It is got a terrifying villain or creature or whatever it might be and stuff. Dual protagonists, funny, hilarious at times, have an incredible working relationship. They're detectives. They're not a couple, anything like that. There's a lot, just everything, the action sequences, the vividness. It's based in Manhattan, which I know very well, so that loaned itself to that. And I think people are going to like it. Let's put it this way. If you like horror, if you like suspense, if you like thrillers, you'll like the book. And if you think you're safe because it takes place on dry land and on my sea monsters, you're not. Okay, there is no escape from this thing in there. And last but not least, most people don't believe in Santa Claus. After finishing this story, you might just change your mind.
So it sounds like there's a little bit of that reverse psychology that you worked into the story.
I don't know what you mean. But I'm going to go get myself a drink because I'm getting a little cottonmouth here. Like the snake, the cottonmouth.
Okay.
So I'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Feel free to read some Purgatory to these guys. They'll enjoy it.
Okay.
I'll be back.
Maybe just talk to me, Mark. Bedtime stories not necessary.
Okay. We're going to get to.
I've read a number of his books, and I thoroughly enjoyed them.
Yeah.
So,
Max is a very entertaining speaker as well as author. I think this has just been a terrific Halloween type show, and at the end of the month, we have another great series. We're talking about Land of the Lost. We're going to be covering another classic chilling series from the same time period as Land of the Lost.
Oh, cool. Well, I can always count on you to get somebody scary on. That's for sure.
Yes. So maybe I've had a call out for a while for doing another Halloween show. And I guess the message got lost somewhere. It's just been a lot of fun tonight. I'm sure listeners
well, how could you
have
not? How could you not now? He really should put his books on audiobooks and do the reading, because that would be spectacular.
Well, Max has perfected a number of impersonations and impressions. So he.
Well, I would think that there are people who only listen to the audiobooks, and the way he read that, I was ready to sit back and curl up and listen to the rest of the story. So that would be exciting.
Honey, I'm home. Oh, sorry.
I was just telling Mark I thought you should read your books and make them audio.
Oh, thank you. As he scarfs down chocolate-covered raisins, the Kirkland variety from Costco. No, I'm just kidding.
Ooh.
Well,
I think you have such a feeling for the story that reading it would make it even more alive, and listening to you read it would be fantastic.
Thank you so much. I mean, if I could squeeze in the time and figure out, I don't have that tech set up or anything like that. My guys would have to schedule that. But I mean, that would I could do it for a short book, like Purgatory, but like a 600-page novel. Oh my God, I would die. I mean, it's hard enough to talk for 2 hours straight on here. I can't imagine talking for Then again, my daughter would probably say, "Oh no, you could do it, Daddy. You could talk for 60 hours straight." Thank you.
Well, I don't think you'd have to do quite that, but chapter by chapter you could probably do, and I would think about it, because that would be exciting.
You know what? I'm oh God.
Chew on it.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who, or not a lot. I've seen a few people post about. Are there any voice actors who might be interested in helping me with, whatever their upcoming new book is? But voice. I know someone else who recently got a job as being a paid voice actor. I don't know if it's for reading or cartoons, but it seems like that's just another example of how all the technology and media is just really just quickly changing all this creativity that's going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me tell you, people in the past have said, taxi drivers, they're like, "Hey, are you on the radio? Because you should be." And I'm like, "No, I'm not, but thank you." But it's the question is how, so much, I already have doing some music stuff, and I did that one song that came out and stuff. I mean, I guess if I could find a time where I could put my writing on hold, all 16 of my fans are like, "What? How dare you put your writing on hold? No, 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 no!" But I mean, yeah, thank you. I'm very flattered.
But okay, we need to touch on your Christmas jingle. The new one is kind of like a Joy to the World.
Is your caller still on?
Barbara?
You mean me?
Oh, it was Barbara that was
here.
talking. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought somebody called in. I didn't hear any of the conversation. I popped in the middle of it. I apologize. I thought you just hung up on somebody without saying goodbye. I was like, my God, no.
No, it's just
so
the three. It's just the three of us here and an international listening audience.
Oh, you're saying music. I'm sorry. No, I was just trying to make sure. I don't want to slight anybody.
Last year, you had All I Want for Christmas is a T-Rex.
No, you're mixing up Mariah Carey's song with mine. A mixture of the two. Mine is a Tyrannosaurus for Christmas.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
All I Want for Christmas is a T-Rex. That's funny. I don't want to get sued by Mariah Carey. Yeah, the T-Rex song is adorable. It's something that I wrote that song when my wife was pregnant with Ava, because I wanted to have something for her, when she got a little older and stuff. So that was like a journey in and of itself. But now the song, I did that one song, like the Mafia version of Jingle Bells, and that one is hilarious. I sang that myself, and I had to do it with a heavy Brooklyn accent, which was very difficult to do. These voices and stuff. So I had to do it like one line at a time in order to do it properly, and then the guy had to mix it all together, because it's very difficult for me to hold a heavy Brooklyn accent through an entire song. But
I understand.
Are you able to play something on the air, like a song? Barbara?
Yeah, that's we've had a violation of that, even though the artist actually had.
No, I meant one of my songs.
I would imagine if you sang it yourself, you hold the copyright, right?
Right. No, but I'm just asking. You want to play it on you can go on YouTube and play it.
She has it in her chat or her Facebook message from me.
Well, but that's something that's not in the switchboard though, Mark. I can't do it that way.
Oh.
So you couldn't, because that song for the sleigh, Lothar Rising, is awesome. And are you able to sync up to YouTube to play it?
Not
if
now.
I play it right now, okay. If I play it right now, will you hear it? It would
probably
be on this, really? I don't know if that's going to work, because before I accidentally hit something and music started playing. Did you hear that about 15-20 minutes ago?
No.
No. But that might have been Mace making some background noise or something.
No, it was Latin music. Okay, so
I go ahead and try it.
because it's not going to be on the microphone. It's going to travel through. I'll hear it in my ears, but I don't know if you're going to hear it. So I'll hit play, and you tell me if you hear it or not. All right? Well, I'll give it just a few seconds. Where's the play button? Duh. Did you hear that?
No.
Okay, so I don't think that's going to work. The only way it would work is if I had it on speaker or something like that, and then trying to play it to the microphone. And you can't go on YouTube. I mean, I'm the copyright holder. I'm giving you permission to put the song on there. Are you able to do that?
We did that with Merle Funkhauser, and we got taken off of YouTube.
Max just said he's the copyright holder, and
I own everything.
gave us permission.
So I mean, if you can't, you can't. I mean, that's I'm just saying.
Funkhauser held it all too.
What's that?
When we had Funkhauser on, he held the copyright. It was his song.
And he gave you permission. Oh, really? And they pulled it off YouTube. Why? Was there something about the song they didn't like?
Nope, they just said it was
a copyright infringement.
That's ridiculous. A copyright infringement has to be filed by the copyright owner.
Not according to
So that doesn't make any sense.
They took the show off.
Suck it. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud?
You did.
Beep.
But anyway, I mean, if I put it on my phone, it's not going to give you the effect. Like that little tiny speaker on my Samsung stuff like that.
Are you able to do it that way and hold it up to the mic?
Yeah, but it's not going to, I don't think it's going to be worth, like doing, honestly. I mean, I can try it. Let me go.
Let's try it.
Let's
just
see
give it at least a little sample.
It's the monster from the sleigh singing. This is designed for, assuming this movie thing goes through, it's supposed to be like with the post-credit track and stuff. I wrote the song, obviously. Let's see if I can find this thing here. Search YouTube. No. I'm going to have to be more specific. There's a lot of sleigh stuff. Wait, I think I found it. Clean version. Okay, we don't want anything with the, there's a single expletive there. Hold on a second. Whoops, sorry, restart that. All right, let's crank this up. I'm going to try. I don't know if this is going to sound very good, though.
Okay, let's give it a shot.
Yeah. Keeping in mind, this is not me singing on this one. This is somebody I hired, the work-for-hire singer. Okay? I wrote, the lyrics and melody, but anyway, so we'll see. It starts off with what sounds like Joy to the World, which is designed to simulate a record player, and then the record gets ripped off, and then the actual song starts, just so if you're wondering. Did that sound halfway decent? I mean, I don't think it could, honestly.
No, it was okay.
It needs to be really on there. Otherwise, it sounds like this little tiny thing in a phone booth or something like that. And the melody is so amazing. The musicians were so incredible. Miles was so amazing. I mean, like all of them. So they did a great job. But it's a really cool song. I don't know if you heard that line, "The fat man's gone, it's my time to shine." He's talking about Santa Claus, see?
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, hey, people go on YouTube and look up my channel, Max Hawthorne's gosh, what's it called these days? Max Hawthorne's book trailers and videos, and you'll see it on there. The Sleigh, Lothar Rising, all that stuff. So it's on the house.
It's an imaginative song. So I'm glad you're branching out into song lyrics.
Mm. Well, it's the writer in me, the poetry, like that. These things just like chug, 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 chug. It's just nonstop. Like I feel like a ticker tape. What are those machines I used to use for the stock market? Is it called ticker tape?
Yeah, that's it.
What's this? Jen Amato has her new book is finished and out. Oh, you guys got to check this out. It's Jana, a post-apocalyptic zombie adventure by Jennifer Amato, Amato, book 1 in the series. What's this story about here? See, I'm plugging somebody else's book, Breaking Rules here and stuff like that. Jana expected a new life when she left the UK for the big city life of Toledo, Ohio. What she didn't expect was to find herself stuck in the Midwest, newly sober and fighting zombies. Jana surprises even herself when she befriends a small group and then finds them looking to her for leadership. The ragtag group of misfits struggle to survive amidst zombies and humans that have no good intentions. Jana tries to maintain while fighting her own personal demons with alcohol. Book 1 in the group series is an amazing, incredible journey through the zombie apocalypse where Jana finds the family she never had but always needed. A story of survival that is more than just personal survival, but one of strength and courage. Order now. How was that? Was that good?
That was terrific.
I'll send you guys the bill, okay?
Yes.
Well, Barbara said I should start doing voiceover work and stuff like that, so I figure I got to get paid for it. I'll let you know how much it's going to cost, Mark. Just kidding.
Okay.
Imagine that. It's a little infomercial there, but wait, there's more.
Jen just that little ding was OMG. I can't believe that Max Hawthorne is plugging my book. I'm jumping in my room right now. So that's Jen's ecstatic.
Well, it's my pleasure, honestly. I mean, writers got to stick together. There's so many people out there that are catty and backbiters and just, oh, he's a threat. Oh, we got to sabotage him. Let's give him some negative reviews and stuff like that. You see all this nonsense out there. I try and help everybody. It should be, if the world was like that, we'd all be in a better position.
Okay. Well, why don't you run for president?
Office?
Yeah.
I'll just put that on my list along with doing voiceovers, and, for Audible. And what else? How much more can I possibly do? I feel like The Rock, except I don't have his money or his biceps these days. But anyway.
Well, let's see. What else do we have to plug? How about your website? You have a lot of your, the article with the museum from Dorking, England, on your website. You have all kinds of paintings of dinosaurs.
Well, let me tell people about the site real quick. First off, you can go to either Kronosrising.com with a K or to MaxHawthorne.com also. Hawthorne with an E on the end. And by the way, if you go on Facebook, check it out. When I first came on Facebook 8 years ago, I was the only Max Hawthorne. Now there's hundreds. God knows how many of those are fake accounts. Why so many? I don't know. But if somebody wants to find me on Facebook, instead of looking up Max Hawthorne, just look up Max Hawthorne Author, because that's the easiest way. Same thing with Instagram as well and stuff. But if you go on the website, there's lots on there. There's obviously a paleo gallery, which Mark was talking about, which is why I try and help promote artists that paint prehistoric stuff. I've been blessed with having some great artists like Davide Bonadonna, who has painted 3 book covers for me, and he is a master of his craft. But I have like 100 different artists now that I'm pushing their work and promoting them on the Paleo Gallery. It's free of charge. You go in and you just get to see some beautiful art about prehistoric life. There's a free book section on the website, also excerpts from novels of mine and stuff, even some audible samples from that crazy book I wrote, what was it called, Memoirs of a Gym Rat, which is all the dirt on the health club industry, what goes on behind the scenes and stuff, you know. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on there. So people go, enjoy yourself. There's a newsletter you can sign up for. It comes out usually once a month that gives updates. There's going to be some, if you're on the newsletter, you're going to get the first sneak peek at stuff from the sleigh. That's coming up very shortly, and lots of other stuff. You know, feel free to come on Facebook, say hi. There's some Facebook groups that follow for Cronus Rising and stuff that you're welcome to join. Some great people that run them. You know, the more the merrier.
Okay, you know, we'll get the archive to you tomorrow, and you can put it in all your groups, and they'll have 2 hours of
listening to me ramble.
Yeah. It was a good ramble.
Yeah, I do ramble though. You know,
it's fun. That's why you're one of the you've been on Coast to Coast 4 times.
Yes, Obama was only on twice. I have doubled that. Of course, I don't have his money, but or as many followers. But all right, let me be quiet now. But it's nice to ramble sometimes. I had this what was the thing I posted the other day? Everybody was like, "Oh, I was like it says yesterday was napping on one of the great room couches when I woke to the sound of the wife helping Ava study her history definitions, and she was saying to Ava, treating someone as property and denying them their rights. And Ava responded correctly, slavery. And then I just woke up and I chimed in, or marriage. And I get this look like, you're going to die now. But Ava and I were laughing. So that's what matters, And all the response from people, hope you have a comfortable couch to sleep on. You're lucky to get something tossed at your head. All this other stuff like that. I'm like, what makes you think I didn't? But I'm still here. I got fast reflexes,
So, what else do you? Yeah, we have a minute left or so. Anything else you want to plug real fast? Where to get your books? Amazon and.
Amazon is your venue of choice because they have everything in stock and will just ship to you, boop, and you get it automatically. Kindles, hardcovers, soft covers, whatever. You just go on Amazon. I mean, there's links on my site that lead directly there. So if you want to go that route, you can read descriptions, et cetera. But I like to send people to Amazon because they have the look inside feature. You can, read 30, 50 pages, sometimes 100 pages before you decide to buy, so you're happy with your purchase. But just go on there and look up Max Hawthorne or Cronus Rising, and you'll have oodles of stuff. I mean, at your fingertips. Not all the books, because the Slay's not under Cronus Rising. It's like a standalone, according to them. So you'd have to look up me or my Author Central page, I think they call it.
Okay.
But and drop me a line. Love to read quality reviews from people and stuff. I never read the negative ones because they're not worth it. So just we gloss over that, and those are rare. But I'm very happy with what I do, and I really enjoy talking to my readers.
Thank you so much. It's been a real joy for us and Jennifer, and you're welcome to come back anytime. So we will have you back on sometime soon. Thank you, Max, and good night, everyone.
Thank you.